Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rob's Movie Reviews. Let me take a quick moment just to wish everybody a Happy New Year. I hope your holiday season went as well as mine did. Now, let me jump right into this week's review. We're going to review what is arguably one of the greatest sports movies ever made. I'm talking about Rudy, the story of Rudy Ruettiger and his quest to play for Notre Dame. This is an excellent movie. I truly enjoy it. It's one of my son's favorite films. It's the story of a young Rudy Ruettiger growing up in northern Indiana. He's a huge fan of Notre Dame football. His entire family is a huge fan. It's the only football team, college football team, that they'll watch in their home. And Rudy makes a comment one day when his friend Pete's over and they're watching a game with his dad that he intends to play for Notre Dame when he grows up. And of course, everybody laughs at him. Rudy is very dedicated to the game. He's got a heart the size of Texas, but he just doesn't have much athletic ability or skill. However, his heart does make up for a lot of it. He excels in high school on the football team. Unfortunately, his grades aren't very good. So, of course, he doesn't make the grades to go to college. He ends up, after he graduates high school, he gets a job in a steel mill along with his father, who's played by Ned Beatty. And by the way, Rudy is played by Sean Astin in this film. He works at the mill with his father and his brother Frank. And Frank is a real jerk in this movie. He never has anything positive to say to Rudy, nothing constructive. He's always picking on him, making fun of him, gives him a hard way to go because he's such a huge fan that he basically lets his love of football dictate his life to the point where he's engaged to get married, and one day there's an accident at the steel mill, and his friend Pete, his best friend, they've been friends their entire life, Pete is killed. And this is a time when Rudy realizes that this is the point in his life where he has to either go for it or give his dream up, but he's not ready to give it up. And his fiance lets him know that if he does this, that it's over between them. And reluctantly, as much as he doesn't want to hurt her, he has to go after his dream. So he heads to South Bend. He tries to get admittance to Notre Dame. He meets with a priest at Notre Dame named Father Kavanaugh, who helps Rudy get into the community college across the street. I believe it's called a Holy Cross Community College. And he tells Rudy if he can bring up his grade point average, he may have an opportunity to get admittance to Notre Dame. So Rudy, he goes to school here, and this is where he meets another of his lifelong friends, a guy. They never really say what his real name is, but everybody calls him D-Bob. Yeah, Rudy meets D-Bob, and everything, D-Bob helps him, tutoring him with the understanding that Rudy helps him try to find a girlfriend. And things go along pretty good for a while. Rudy goes to see Coach Parsisian, and I hope I said that right. I probably butchered it, but Parsisian, whatever. Anyway, Rudy goes in, basically barges into his office and tells him of his intentions to play for him. And about the time it looks like, he's running out of time. He's only got like one semester left because Notre Dame doesn't accept senior transfers. And on his last attempt, when he applies for admittance to Notre Dame, he gets a letter telling him that he has been admitted. And of course, when he gets there, first thing he does is try out for the football team. And, like I said, he doesn't have much athletic ability, but the coaches immediately see and realize just how much heart and dedication he has. So they more because they feel pity for him, but they also, it's not so much they feel pity for him, but they see how dedicated he is, and they decide they're going to reward that, and they give him a spot on the practice squad. And that's just the greatest thing. It's unbelievable to him. He can't believe it. He's actually going to help the team prepare for their games. And the coach makes Rudy a promise that he will let him dress for one game, the last game of the year. Unfortunately, at the end of the first season, when Rudy's on the team, the coach resigns, and Notre Dame hires Dan Devine to come in and take over as the head coach. I believe he was the coach with the Green Bay Packers. He comes in, takes over as the head coach at Notre Dame, and it's obvious early on that he has no intentions of keeping Coach Parsisian's promise to Rudy. He doesn't want to let him play. Rudy almost quits the team several times, and then eventually he does walk away. When the dress list comes out for the last game of the season and he's not on it, he quits. And that's when several players come to him, and they just really give him a hard way to go. It's like, man, dude, you've done this for so long. You've stuck with it. How can you quit right before the last game of your senior year? You're getting ready to graduate. Don't quit now. Don't let them break you. You can't let this happen. So he ends up going back, and a lot of the players go to the coach on Rudy's behalf and end up convincing him to let Rudy dress for the last game. Coach has no intentions of letting him play. They want him to at least be able to dress and be on the sidelines at a game. And as it turns out, late in the game, Notre Dame takes a huge lead over Georgia Tech. They've got the game in the bag. And because of this, for about the last 45 seconds of the game, Rudy actually does get to come in. He plays one play on special teams for a kickoff return, a kickoff coverage, and then he's put in on defense for basically what's going to be the last play of the game. The other team's setting up for a Hail Mary, and miraculously Rudy is able to break through the offensive line and sack the quarterback. And this is all based on a true story. There is some things that have been exaggerated and elaborated on, of course, for dramatic effect. But I do believe him getting that sack in the last play of the game is actually happened. And he was carried off the field by the other players because they were just so happy for him, what had happened. And whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the word scroll on the screen at the end of the film as they're carrying him off, that he is the last player to ever have been carried off the field in that fashion. And thus ends the movie. It's a fantastic film. If you're a fan of sports and you haven't seen Rudy yet, you really need to watch this movie. It's very inspirational, very heartwarming. It's a great movie. Sean Astin delivers a wonderful performance, as well as Ned Beatty. It's a great all-around feel-good movie. If you're a fan of football or just sports in general, this is a movie you really need to check out. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my review of Rudy. And until next week, you all take care.